It's officially the Christmas season, and what better way to spend it than locking yourself in your room and making some motion graphics. Today we'll be using some very simple yet useful techniques to create this festive Christmas composition. Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Jordan Bertone with Sonduck Film. So be sure to drop a like on this video, it helps us out a ton, and let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is get all of our shapes imported and created so we can start animating. The first graphic we'll add is this star graphic that I downloaded from a stock image website. All I need to do is drag and drop it onto the timeline, and here it is. I want to center the anchor point in the middle of the star, so I'll click the pan behind tool and move the anchor point over the center like this. Next, go up to Effect, Perspective, Drop Shadow, set the distance to 100, softness to 230, duplicate the drop shadow, set the distance of the duplicate to 200, and softness to 1200. Now we have our main star made. Next, we'll create a sparkle shape, and you can do this by selecting the rectangle tool. Make sure fill is set to none, stroke is set to solid color, and set the stroke width to 10. Create a small square like this, then open the shape layer, select add, pucker and bloat, open it up, then drag the amount down until your rectangle forms a sparkle shape like this. Lastly, just hold Ctrl, then double-click the pan behind tool so the anchor point gets centered right in the middle of the sparkle, and now we have our second graphic made. Next, we'll make our line stroke layers. Start by selecting the pen tool. We'll leave the settings the same, then click and drag to create this curving line that has a bit of a figure 8 pattern like this. Now open the shape layer, contents, shape 1, stroke 1, taper, set the start length, end length, start ease, and end ease all to 50% so that the line has a fine point at both ends like this. Next, we'll use the pen tool and create another line that swirls through the first one like this. Remember, you don't have to do it exactly as I am, the idea is just to add a fancy embellishment to the composition. Lastly, open up this line and add the exact same taper settings as the last line that we just made. Now we have our different shape layers set up and ready to go. Next, we're going to take the shape layers we just made and animate them. We'll start with the star layer. All we're going to do is highlight it, press R for rotation, hold the Alt key, click the stopwatch for rotation, and type in time *20 to give it a constant rotation animation. Now we can start duplicating the star, resizing it, and moving it around the composition to fill things out a bit more. Once we have enough stars, we can go into the different stars' rotation expressions and add a plus symbol and a number like 20 so that this star starts at a different initial rotation than the others. This way they won't rotate all in the exact same way. We can also open another star, open their expression, and change the 20 to a -20 so that it rotates the other way to add even more variety. Next, we'll animate our sparkle, so highlight that layer, press S for scale, set a keyframe at the start of the timeline, move forward a bit on the timeline, increase the size by just a tiny bit, highlight the keyframes, and press F9 to make them easy ease. Now alt-click the stopwatch for scale and type in loop out with a capital O, parentheses, quotations, ping pong, like this so that it will scale up and down endlessly. Then all we need to do is duplicate the sparkle a few times and put it around the composition just like we did with our stars. Lastly, we'll animate our lines, so highlight one of the lines, open it, select Add, Trim Paths, open up the trim paths, set a keyframe for End, set End to 0%, move forward on the timeline, and set End to 100%. Highlight the keyframes, make them easy ease, then open up the Graph Editor tool and bring the curve to the center like this to smooth out the animation. Highlight the trim paths that we just made, press Ctrl C to copy it, then paste it onto all of the other lines to give them the exact same animation. Now all we need to do is offset these lines a bit on the timeline so that they don't all animate in at the exact same time. And now we have all of our shapes for the composition fully animated. Before we move on, as you may know, creating motion graphics can be incredibly time consuming. That's why we've made thousands of templates to help you save time and produce professional work with our MotionDuck extension. For example, you can easily preview templates from one of our packs and just click the apply button. Then you can quickly change the template parameters and you're done. So if you're looking to gain an edge within your work, check out every template we have for After Effects and Premiere Pro with the links below. Next, we'll quickly animate our titles to go along with the rest of the shapes. To animate the Christmas title, open it up, select Animate, Blur, set the blur to 150, open the range selector, set a keyframe for start at the beginning of the timeline, Move forward a bit on the timeline, set start to 100% and make the keyframes easy ease. We'll copy this animator, paste it onto our Merry title, then open up the keyframes and we'll make it so that this title starts and ends inside of the animation of the Christmas title like this so that the timing works a little bit better. Now we have our titles animated to go along with all of the shape layers. Finally, we'll add some finishing touches to the overall composition to round things out. We'll start by going to Layer, New, Adjustment Layer, make sure it's highlighted, then go to Effect, Noise and Grain, Noise, and Effect, Perspective, CC Spotlight. For the noise, set the amount to around 7%, uncheck Use Color Noise. For the spotlight, we'll set the position of from to the top right outside of the composition like this, and we'll set the position of to near the middle of the composition like this. Change the height to 0, edge softness to 80%, intensity to 15, and now we have a nice spotlight effect made. Next, we'll make our snow layer, so create a new adjustment layer, then go to Effect, Simulation, CC Snowfall. You can customize the snow to look however you like, but I'm just going to leave these settings default. Lastly, we're going to add a camera zoom, so go to Layer, New, Null Object, highlight every layer except for the adjustment layers and the background layer, then parent them to the null that we just made. Now highlight the null, press S for scale, set a keyframe at the start of the timeline, move to the end of the timeline, and set scale to 110% so that the scene slowly zooms in as time goes on. And we're done! A nice Christmas-themed composition made using some handy techniques in After Effects. Aren't you glad you spent this time learning how to make some motion graphics instead of spending it with your family? I know I am. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more post-production tutorials every week, and remember, always be creating.